Welcome to my channel. This is Divested Diamonds. You have arrived. Well, it's so good to be back. And for those of you who are wondering what had happened, I was not feeling well, and so I took some time off to take care of myself. Thank you so much to those of you who participated in the community post. And thank you to all the new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. So in this video, we are going to discuss the controversial Ralph Richard Banks. Oh, so many people are upset with this man. And this is not the first time that this has happened. Okay, for those of you who don't know who Ralph Richard Banks is, he is an American black man who is a professor at Stanford Law School, where he has taught since 1998. In 2011, he wrote a controversial book entitled Is Marriage for White People? How the African American Marriage Decline Affects Everyone. Okay, so he grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, as the youngest child and only boy in a family of 4 children. He attended Cleveland Public Elementary School, where he met a girl named Jennifer Eberhardt, who would later become his wife. After graduating from university school, an all-boys school, he went to Stanford University, where he received bachelor's and master's degrees. During law school at Harvard, he reunited with Jennifer. They got married in 1997 and went on to have 3 boys. So it's been a little over a decade since the release of his book, which almost sent majority of black men and some black women in the so-called community into cardiac arrest. On April 1st of this year, he wrote an article for the New York Post, which was titled, Why More Black Women Should Consider Marrying White Men. And yet again, people were upset. I have seen quite a few videos with different opinions on his article. It's the same old nonsense with people zoning in on the divested camp, accusing black women of basically being users and fetishists for wanting to be in relationships with white men and men of other races, completely disregarding the fact that all black women aren't only attracted to black men. They are attracted and attractive to men of all other races as well.
This is the thing I think a lot of women like Shay Sade have an issue with. It looks so desperate, like she said. It comes off really begging. It comes like you're begging non-black men to be with you, but not for love. And I want to be very clear to the young lady. You're not asking for love. You're using white men and non-black men as a status symbol, and everybody knows it. I don't know if you realize that everybody knows. It's almost like these type of sisters think everybody's dumb. Like everybody knows that you're using white men and non-black men as a status symbol. So please stop talking about this love thing. Nobody believes you. Nobody believes you, bro. So like, could we call a thing a thing? You have an issue with black men, and you want to use white men to snub black men and use them as a status symbol. Unfortunately, believe it or not, white men know. You're right, number one. Number two, most of them are not interested. And when I say most, I don't mean like 51% most. I mean like 95% most, right? Are not interested, number one. Number two, you're going to still run into the wall of anti-blackness. I don't know how many black women have straight up said, I've dated white men and it started getting serious and they family X'd it, right? Or his granddad said, you ain't getting out $1 from me if you stay with her. Or we were together and we were having sex and everything was good for a year and a half, and he's just dropped me.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't make any sense. So I was bothered by that. And I think, honestly, it makes us look desperate. It makes us look really desperate because creating this whole narrative that, first of all, okay, the men suck. Let's just say that the men suck. Women over here, the poor black woman can't find a good man. And so now she's a freaking charity case. And now the white man, out of the goodness of his heart, needs to go save her from Blackistan. Do you know how desperate that makes us look?
It's the usual fear mongering that Black women have had to endure over the years. People are upset that, unlike these self proclaimed high value men of YouTube, a real Ivy League educated, high value man who is actually married to a Black woman decided to take an educated stance in advising Black women that, due to the unfortunate circumstances of unmarriageable Black men in the so called community, perhaps Black women ought to look at other races of men, especially if marriage is something they are looking to do. People are upset because, unlike your uneducated Pookie and Ray Ray, who have nothing to offer any woman, educated Black women could at least be appreciated by men who actually see the value in them. Men who appreciate a hardworking woman should she want to continue a career after marriage. And whether or not you choose to work is irrelevant. All your other womanly skills can be appreciated by a man who actually sees value in you. His New York Post article starts off with him writing, "Two of the most powerful positions in the United States will soon be held for the first time by Black women: Kamala Harris and Ketanji Brown Jackson." Harris, as we all know, is the Vice President of the United States, and Brown Jackson could become a Supreme Court Justice. Now, he wrote this article before Ketanji Brown Jackson was confirmed. So, my only disagreement with his statement on Kamala Harris especially is that she is not a Black woman. Now, I consider her to be a mixed Indian woman with some Black ancestry. Let's make this clear. Women of other races do not create or give birth to Black children. I just wanted to point that out. And I understand that there are those who still believe in the one drop rule. There are those who believe the one drop rule is still relevant, but it's not. That's a video for another day, but I digress. Back to the article. Ralph Richard Banks goes on to say that Harris and Brown Jackson also share a personal attribute that is equally noteworthy. Each has a white husband. Like I mentioned earlier, Ketanji Brown Jackson has since been confirmed as the first Black woman Supreme Court Justice. He continues, "The fact is significant. The effects of racism have left well-educated Black women with paucity of Black male partners. According to Brookings Institute data, Black men are less likely than Black women to have completed high school and 50% less likely to have attained a 4-year college degree. Yet, despite the shortage of suitable Black partners, Black women have also been the least likely of any minority group to marry outside of their race, according to data from the Pew Research Center." I absolutely agree with him on this. Most Black women are willing to marry down just to be race loyal. The problem with marrying or dating solely on race loyalty is that you miss out on numerous opportunities to find what you're looking for because you are too focused on skin color as opposed to opening up your options and looking at character, commonalities, and simply getting to know someone else who doesn't look like you. Part of the reason most Black women are willing to sit there waiting for this unrealistic unicorn of a Black man is fear. Like I mentioned earlier, the fear mongering that Black women have had to endure at the hands of most black men and some black women in the so-called community has made a lot of black women believe that they can't do better than what's available to them. They have been made to feel as though a black man, regardless of how low value or useless he may be, is the best that they can do because there isn't much else to pick from in the first place. You know, my mother, who's a wonderful woman, always told me, and she said this to all the girls in my family, aim for the sky and you will land on the treetops. The problem with most black women, in my observation, is that they seem to aim for the treetops and end up landing on the ground. Now, I'm going to leave you to marinate on that. Let's continue. Professor Banks says, rather than partner with men of other races, many heterosexual black women either don't marry or marry black men with whom they are not matched. And these mismatched relationships contribute to African Americans having the highest divorce rate of any racial group. In fact, black women are the only demographic who have a higher divorce rate than marriage rate. So these men might be running around and telling you to stay within your race, but they are not marrying you. The only reason that they want you there is to be a placeholder or someone that they could engage in dysfunction with. This is not normal. It's not feasible for any woman to put her life on hold because men of her race say so. You don't see this or hear this with women of other races. So I agree with everything he said here. Again, I can give you countless number of examples of successful black women who married down and ended up regretting it. There is nothing worse than a woman who has all the tools necessary for success in life to have a comfortable and fruitful life, only to end up with a loser who holds her back. This is why I would never advocate for any black woman who is doing financially well or highly educated to end up with a man who does not make the cut. It's okay for black women to uphold their standards and look for someone who is on the same level or higher. Higher is always best, in my opinion. The issue with most black women, for whatever reason, is that they love to take relationship advice from black men. And I don't understand that. Where exactly do you think that advice is going to get you? Absolutely nowhere. Most black women care way too much about what black men have to say in regards to their life choices, and that is why they are always on the losing side. How many times have we heard black men, in this space especially, making a mockery of black women's education, black women's degrees, and how the so-called high-value men don't care about such things. The only man capable of uttering such blasphemous poison has to be an uneducated, insecure man who doesn't measure up to such a woman. Secure men who are really high value would never downplay your education. That would be looked upon as a plus because guess what? High value men move in high circles with different types of people. Every now and then, he may require you dress up, bring your A game, and venture into intelligent conversation with business partners and their wives. This is where your education comes in. Even better, when you are articulate and capable of holding an intelligent conversation. When you go to these expensive dinners or events, you are not only there to socialize and network, you are there to make an impression. You are there to make you and your husband look good. So yes, your education matters, whether or not you are working in the field that you went to school for or not. It matters. And please refrain from taking relationship advice from groups of men who can't read or write. Uncultured and insular people have the most ignorant things to say. There is no reason Black women should continue to marry down by giving a brother a chance when these men aren't on your level. There are far too many men out there who will appreciate you, your beauty, your brains, your education, and your whole being by not nitpicking and asking you what it is that you bring to the table. Only broke, pretentious, childish, and insecure men ask that mundane question. In any case, would you call these types men or boys? Lastly, there's something very profound that this man said. He continues, I explained in the book why Black women should not be pressured to sacrifice their own chances of happiness out of some misplaced loyalty to Black men. Nor should Black women feel beholden to Black men under the guise of advancing the race. If the price of racial solidarity is a bad, intimate relationship, then the cost is too high. Black women should not be held hostage to the struggles of Black men. True, race can provide a basis of compatibility, but race itself cannot solely sustain a relationship. And there are many bases of compatibility other than race. Black women's increased rate of interracial marriage from a mere 3% in 1980 to 12% in 2017, according to the Pew Research Center, also reflects their increasing autonomy to choose partners that best serve them. They should not have to apologize or feel guilty for doing so. And again, how many times have we echoed this message in this space? And while I do appreciate that this man isn't sugarcoating these issues and the mindfuck of this so-called community, Black women do not require permission to explore their dating or marriage options. It's a human right to live your life to the best of your abilities by putting yourself first. Look, normally, I wouldn't care what any Black man has to say when it comes to these issues. But I was compelled to listen because this man said what needed to be said. He is smart, educated, doesn't have a dog in this fight. And the intentions behind the message were meant to let Black women know that they have options. I'm pretty sure that this man has seen Black women banging their heads onto brick walls and getting absolutely nowhere for years. He decided to share his views on the matter because anyone with any type of common sense can see that Black women have been living a recurring nightmare, and it's time to wake up. So, what are your thoughts on what Ralph Richard Banks had to say about Black women? I mean, if you are divested, you're probably living that life anyway. Do you agree or disagree with any of what he had to say? Please leave your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, ladies, go where you're celebrated and not tolerated. And don't date or marry down just to give a man a chance. Thank you so much for watching. This is Divested Diamonds, and I'll see you next time. Bye, Diamonds.